Hey everybody, this is Reformed Orthodoxy here, and today I'm going to be reading a book called A Boy in the Nazi Death Camps. Actually, no, it's called Surviving Hitler, A Boy in the Nazi Death Camps by Andrea Warden. It's about a Jewish Holocaust survivor. He is torn from the arms of his family by the Nazis when they marched into Poland in 1939. And he's sent to numerous different concentration camps. So, I'm going to be reading it. Oh, and just for the record, if I hear any Holocaust jokes in the comment section, I will delete them. Okay. Without further ado, this is Surviving Hitler, A Boy in the Nazi Death Camps. Skip the acknowledgements. Oh, and I'll be reading this chapter by chapter, by the way. And here, this picture is of children enjoying themselves in pre-war Poland. Okay. Introduction. Before his sudden death in 1998, Sam Sander of Kansas City opened my eyes to the Holocaust. In the small Nebraska town where I grew up in the decades following World War II, a war that my father and uncle fought in, no one talked about the Holocaust, nor did I know anyone who was Jewish. My high school history textbook allotted only a few sentences of this catastrophic event. Photos showing emaciated survivors and grotesque bodies of the dead suggested such horror that I wanted to stay away from the subject as far as I could. Then I met Sam. He told me about his terrifying experiences in Hitler's death camps and showed me the tattoo on his arm from Auschwitz. Sam made the faces real in the photos. I looked at them again and I saw real people instead of victims. Each person had a good life, people he or she loved, and hopes of a happy future. Then all of them were ensnared in Hitler's frenzied mania to destroy the Jewish race and other enemies of the Nazi state. I began listening to the stories of survivors. When I met Jack Mandelbaum, I wanted to tell a story. Like Sam, Jack spent 3 years as a teenager in the death camps. He survived through courage, luck, help from others, and sheer will. Like all survivors, he has much to tell us about bravery and self-reliance, and about history and lessons from the Holocaust. I have constructed this history from fact and from Jack's experience. While he has a remarkable memory, he of course could not remember the verbatim conversations that took place over 60 years ago. Thus, when you read the quotes in the times before and during the war, please be aware that I have exercised literary license, writing them as closely as possible to the way Jack recalled them. Sometimes from survivors we can gain insight into our own lives. Sam showed me a letter he received from a student who had listened to him speak at her school. She told him she was having problems at school and at home and had tried to kill herself. She was planning on trying again. Then she heard him. Listening to the horrible things he went through, she decided that if he could survive what he had, and still create a good life for himself, then she would try to work out her problems. She reported that things were much better now, and that she was grateful for what she learned from him. In spite of how hard it may be for us to learn about the survivor stories, it is even harder for them to tell us. It forces them to relive the nightmare of their brutal and inhumane experiences. But they know we must be warned. People throughout the world continue to do horrible things to one another. And we have so much yet to learn. If we open ourselves to their stories And with Holocaust survivors as our guides, we can learn to recognize, darn it, I can't read, and recognize and work to eradicate the roots of racism, discrimination, oppression, and tyranny. If we do not, then who might be the next target of the kind of ethnic cleansing practiced by the Nazis? Could it be you? And just a side note, I kind of suck at reading out loud, so please try to endure. I stutter a lot when I read out loud, sorry. In Germany, they first came for the communists. I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the Jews. I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for trade unionists. I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. And then they came for the Catholics. I didn't speak up because I was a Protestant. Then they came for me. And by that time, no one was left to speak up. And this is a quote from Reverend Martin Niemöller, who was a Protestant minister and a survivor of the Nazi concentration camps. Hold on, gotta get a drink. Oh man, good. This photo is in the port of Danzig, which is now Dansk. That's my best educated guess. Which was a few miles from Gdynia. And Jack Mandelbaum often saw incursion boats ferrying passengers on leisurely outings along the city's canals. And this is a 14-chapter book, so I'm going to make a series about this. But anyway, Chapter 1, Rumors of War, 1939. Until he was 12, Jack Mandelbaum assumed his life would always be a carefree adventure. He lived with his father, mother, older sister, and younger brother in beautiful Gdynia, Poland, on the shores of the Baltic Sea. Our city was the pride of Poland. Ships came into port from all over the world, and I heard many foreign languages. I saw sailors who wore turbans, and black sailors from Africa. This was part of our daily life, Jack recalled. Jack clipped stamps and begged ship captains for those from faraway places. He kept stamps neatly categorized in books and loved to imagine the strange and exotic countries they came from. His father, Majlak Mandelbaum, Max to his friends, was a prosperous owner of a fish cannery. The family lived comfortably in a spacious apartment with big windows on one of the most prominent streets of the cities, just a few blocks from the beach. And this here isn't a photo of his mom, and I'm gonna read this. Darn it. Jack has no photo of his mother, but she bore a strong resemblance to her older sister, Taube Goldweiser, pictured in this photo, who survived the war. And I don't know if I butchered that. Please forgive me if I did. We had every modern convenience, Jack said. Because I lived in the city, I didn't realize that many people in Poland were without electricity, indoor plumbing, and telephones. Our home was filled with laughter and kisses. My parents were very much in love. They were openly affectionate with each other, and with us children. It was a lovely life. Jack's mother, Sesha, dressed elegantly. She wore silk dresses, high heels, jewelry, and hats with veils. In cold weather, she wore a fur coat. She was very beautiful, with dark eyes and long black shiny hair, which she arranged with the latest styles from Paris. Mama was the heart of our home, Jack said. On winter nights, my mom would warm my comforter on our tile stove, and then gently wrap it around me as I climbed into bed. She was an excellent cook and had many specialties. One of my favorites was a sweet fried pastry with pockets of jelly inside. I can never figure out how she got the jelly in there. And this is a picture of a boy and I'm assuming his family in pre-war Poland. And it says here, the boy in the picture, like the boy in the picture here in pre-war Poland, Jack loved spending a day at the beach. He always went with his mother, sister, and brother. Mama took the 3 children to the market with her, on picnics in the nearby forest, and on outings in the mountains surrounding... Hold on. Gdynia. Sorry about that. Surrounding Gdynia. We often went to the beach, Jack said. I remember Papa sometimes taking a break from work to join us. From street vendors, he would buy us handmade waffle cones filled with delicious rich cream. That sounds good. And right here is a picture of his father. Jack's father had sent this photo of himself to a cousin. Yeah, that's his dad. My bad. The family employed a full-time housekeeper to help with laundry, cleaning, and cooking. Every morning she arrived by bus and streetcar from her nearby village to brew the coffee, filling the apartment with its strong aroma. She was a pretty young woman, and I remember how she would lick the red wrapper the coffee came in and rub it on her cheeks to make it look like she was rouge, my bad, which she could not afford. Jack said she was good-natured, and I loved to tease her. Sometimes Jack teased his brother Jacob, his brother who was 5 years younger than he. Jacob was a handsome little boy and had his mother's jet black hair and dark eyes. Jack felt protective of him and often played with him. Like Jack, Jacob loved sports. He often took him to the ice skating rink, and played hockey with him. Their sister Yeja was serious and studious. She was 3 years older than Jack. Yeja loved music and listened to Italian opera on the radio while she did her homework, Jack said. She had perfect penmanship. She was gentle and kind. I remember she wore little gold earrings with her school uniform, which was a navy blouse with a sailor collar and a navy plated skirt. She had black hair and big hazel-colored eyes. Like his father, Jack was naturally curly blonde hair. Had naturally curly blonde hair, and blue eyes. Papa was my hero. I thought he was strong and brave, and I often felt safe with him. I remember the night he brought me a bicycle. It wasn't my birthday or anything. He just got it for me because he thought I would like it. Even though it was late, I immediately rode it around and around our big mahogany dining room table. After that, I rode it everywhere, for I was free to come and go. I even entered bicycle races on Square Kosciuszko, and I apologize if I butchered that. Named for the Polish patriot who fought for George Washington in the American Revolution, and I won 3rd place. Every school day, before Jack put on his navy blue uniform and walked to his public school, his mother insisted he eat a big breakfast, typically included fruit juice, hot cereal with milk and butter on it, a roll, cheese, perhaps some smoked fish, along with a boiled egg in a little cup, served in a little cup. Mama always packed a big lunch for me, but after such a breakfast, I was sometimes not hungry, so I'd give my food away to some of the poor children who attended our school. When classes ended, Jack and his friends went to the movies. Charlie Chaplin was Jack's favorite actor, or they played soccer, rode bikes, or went to see the Greco-Roman-style wrestling matches at the local sports arena. Often they headed to the beach or the docks. I was a very mischievous boy, Jack recalled. My parents never knew all the things I wasn't supposed to, especially at the boat docks. The worst was when my friends and I would swim alongside the ships in the harbor. It was very dangerous because you could get crushed by the ship and the dock, between the ship and the dock. This had once happened to a boy. I never thought about the danger. We would climb up the ship ladders and dive into the water. The port police often chased us. I was lucky my parents never found out, or I would have been punished. City boys like me to learn to get away with things. We were clever. Jack's parents frequently entertained friends and relatives, some of who stayed with the family for weeks at a time. Both parents came from large families. Jack's father had 2 brothers and 2 sisters. His mother had 9 brothers and sisters. Jack didn't know his paternal grandfather, who lived in a small town in another part of Poland, but his relatives came and lived close by and gather along with friends at the Mandelbaums for special occasions. Jack was very fond of his uncle Sigmund, his father's younger brother, who was only 17 when Jack was born. Uncle Sig looked older than he was because he had lost most of his hair due to a childhood illness. Sorry, I can't read. Jack recalled. He was strong and plump and had rosy cheeks. I loved it when he visited us because he was so much fun. And this is a picture of an observation tower at the top of one of the top of the city's buildings. I can't freaking read. An observation tower at the top of Danzig, well-known buildings, overlooked one of Jack's favorite bridges. I can't read, sorry. Danzig was Jack's birthplace, and his family frequently visited friends and relatives living there. A frequent visitor was Mama's pretty youngest sister, Hinda, who stayed for long periods of time with the family. She was college-educated and quite spoiled. She was interested in clothes, makeup, and having a good time with her many boyfriends, all of whom adored her. And this picture is of the apartment. Jack's family's apartment occupied the entire second floor of this building in Gadinga. When the Mandelbaums entertained, Jack often eavesdropped. Politics was always a topic. This is how I learned many things, he said. Germany was our closest neighbor, and I remember talking about the oppression of Germany's Jews. Adolf Hitler, the Nazi dictator of Germany, was making life miserable for them. One Jewish friend of his father's, Mr. Ponsk, was a rotund man who was normally cheerful and full of jokes, always got agitated when talking politics. He would pace the room, chomping on a cigar, his face getting very red as he wondered aloud why Hitler hated the Jews so much and why he blamed them for everything wrong in Germany. Mr. Ponzak talked about his German Jewish friends and their loyalty to everything German, Jack recalled. Many of his friends fought bravely for Germany in World War I and were very patriotic, yet they had been stripped of their very citizenship rights. I remember my father replying, while that Hitler persecuted other groups, including communists, gypsies, and anyone who opposed him, he, like many other Germans and other Europeans, hated Jews. This hatred went back to ancient rivalries and misunderstandings over religion and nationality. Hitler made the Jews a scapegoat for Germany's loss in World War I and for its economic problems. He declared in one speech that if there was another war, it would be the Jews' fault, and it would result in the destruction of the Jewish race in Europe. Some people resented the Jews, who prospered financially. Others distrusted Jews who lived apart, speaking Yiddish, which was the traditional language spoke by Eastern European Jews, and following ancient customs of dress, culture, and education. Jack's parents were concerned about the increasing acts of violence against Polish Jews in other parts of Poland, but they did not speak of these things in front of their children. They wanted to protect us, Jack said. I knew they'd be worried. At the movies, I saw newsreels of Hitler speaking to huge rallies, and I saw footage of his troops marching into Czechoslovakia. Sometimes we heard Hitler ranting on our radios. We lived just 12 miles from the German border, and we spoke German as well as Polish, so we knew what he was saying. And this is a picture of Adolf Hitler himself. What a coward. Hitler salutes his soldiers during a Nazi parade. Gdynia, a city of 250,000, had such a small Jewish population that it did not have a synagogue or a rabbi. 90% of Poland's population was Catholic and 10% was Jewish. Although Jack's parents grew up in a religious household, they didn't go to weekly services. However, they did observe major Jewish holidays such as Passover, and they wanted Jack to have a bar mitzvah, which is a Jewish coming-of-age ritual, ceremony, when he turned 13. That summer of 1939, when he was 12, Jack's parents engaged a young Jewish scholar to tutor him in the study of the Torah, which is the Jewish Bible, and the Hebrew alphabet, so he could prepare for his bar mitzvah. His mother began making the traditional fruit brandy, selling it in jars to ferment till the celebration. All this seemed mysterious to Jack, who believed in God, but at the time knew more about the Catholic faith than the Jewish faith. In his public school, nuns and priests taught the Catholic prayers. Jack knew them all by heart. Although Jews didn't celebrate Christmas, he would join his Catholic friends in the tradition of carrying manger scenes from house to house while singing Christmas carols. Even with the talk of war with Germany began an interest, Jack thought of himself as Polish rather than Jewish. We were full of patriotism, said Jack. We knew the Germans hated the Poles and wanted our land. Our attitude was, let them come, we'll lick them in a week. As the summer of 1939 wore on, more and more stories surfaced about Hitler's hatred of Jews. Many German Jews tried to leave Germany but found few places to go. Most countries were anti-Semitic, which meant they were prejudiced against Jews and would not allow them to come in. Some countries, like the United States, had strict immigration quotas. Jack overheard his father telling his mother, he was worried about what would happen to Jews in Poland, and perhaps they should move to Australia, one country where Jews could still go. But the Australians allowed one family member to enter initially. After 6 months, if that person had a job and could support the rest of the family, then they could come. Mama refused to consider doing this because it required separation from Papa. And this is a picture of several generations of a Jewish family in Poland taken prior to the war. Jack knew that the year before, when Germany had forcibly expelled many Jewish citizens, dumping them in a no-man's land between Germany and Poland, Papa helped them, putting himself at great risk. He secretly brought group after group of these poor people to Gdynia and helped them get them safely onto ships that would take them to freedom in other countries that a short time later started restricting immigration. Jack thought his father was very brave to help the German Jews. He felt a thrill go down his spine every time he remembered what his father had done. Then one day in June, his Hebrew teacher disappeared, and Jack's lesson stopped. The lessons were very difficult, and he was relieved not to have to study anymore. In August, city officials announced that schools would not be open in the fall. Jack was elated. I thought, wow, extra vacation and a war coming. What could be better? Me and my friends were thrilled. Every day, we went down to the docks to watch the naval cadets training on the few ships that were Poland's entire navy. Dang. Though Jack had no way of knowing it, this would end his formal education, both religious and academic. Compared to Hitler's forces, Poland's military was primitive, consisting of a few airplanes, a few ships, and a small cavalry. Jack's father had served in the military for 2 years and was clearly worried. Papa had a strong foreboding about the war. When rumors began spreading that the Germans were about to start a bombing campaign against Poland, Jack's father feared Gintinga would be a target. He decided that until the danger passed, he and his wife and children must go stay with his father, who lived in a small town 300 miles away. He felt they'd be safe there. "But Papa," Jack protested, "you must come too." "I will, but for now, I will stay to close up the business and the house," he replied. He held Jack's hands tightly, and Jack never forgot his words. "You are my eldest son. I'm counting on you to take care of our family." So this is the end of chapter 1. Next time I will read chapter 2, The Occupation. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.